Distortions Unlimited has unleashed their very first sneak peek for the 2026 season. Let's talk about it. For everything scary, I'm GMHaunts, and welcome to an incredibly exciting video, because Halloween 2025 may have just passed, but all that means is that it's finally time to turn our attention to Halloween 2026. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are nearing the end of November, and this is usually the time frame where we begin to shift our focus from the retail side of the Halloween world over to the professional side of things, as for the most part, these pro haunt companies reveal their brand new items in the off-season, which is the exact opposite of what we tend to see from the retail companies, where they normally start their reveals around June and July. These pro companies normally begin around November and December. And as usual, Distortions is the very first pro company to release an item for the 2026 season, and trust me, it's a good one. I've covered the Distortion sneak peek reveals for years now, and this is genuinely always one of my favorite times of year, getting to see all of the new items that DU is releasing for that upcoming season, so you can imagine how excited I am that we finally have our first sneak peek for 2026. Alrighty, so jumping right into this, the very first reveal of the Distortions Unlimited 2026 season is the Medusa Legend. This is an all-new static prop, which is sort of to be expected because we've seen a reoccurring theme with Distortions over the last couple years, that usually the first reveal, and normally like the first 4 or 5 reveals, do end up being static props, or legends as they call them, before they actually dive into the new animatronic reveals. So that theme is continuing going into the 2026 season, as the first item of the lineup is the Medusa Legend, and this is such a fantastic looking static prop, and definitely a very unique one. Medusa Legend is obviously a fully foam-filled latex character, which is what we've come to expect and love from Distortions, with that extremely high quality and very nice durability with static props and animatronics. And Medusa Legend actually does feature some wires in the arms so that you can bend the positions on them. I absolutely love that. I always am a big advocate for being able to customize your animatronics and props, and when Distortions gives us those bendable or posable arms, whatever you want to call them, I get very excited, so I love the fact that you can bend her arms. When it comes to the prop itself, I have to say that I am a huge fan of the Medusa Legend, which really isn't that surprising because just about everything Distortions does knocks it out of the park in terms of the sculpts for these characters. And it was mentioned in the sneak peek video that the face for Medusa was sculpted by Jordu Shell, obviously a legendary sculptor within the pro and just Halloween world in general. And it was also talked about that the snakes in her hair were sculpted by Tom Cassidy at Distortions, one of the very well-known people at the company. I always love when DU gets multiple sculptors together to work on characters, especially when the finished product looks this good. So I have to give big props, no pun intended, out to Jordu and Tom Cassidy. Something I'd like to specifically compliment with the Medusa Legend and the sculpt is the way the hands look. I think they absolutely killed it, especially the way the fingers are and like the boniness, just how realistic they look to a real humanoid woman. It looks absolutely fantastic, and the same goes for the little exposed leg that's on there. The arms look incredible, the feet are sculpted really well. Obviously, Distortions always does a good job when it comes to making their items look realistic, but I think the Medusa Legend is even a step above what we normally see in terms of the way the hands look. Again, the arms, the legs, the feet, it all looks super lifelike. Another strong point with this piece would be the clothing, and this is another thing we see on just about every Distortions item, is that they don't use cheap materials or like fake factory clothing as we see sometimes in the retail market. They are always using real materials and real clothing on their items, and it definitely stands out on this one. It gives me like Egyptian feels. Obviously Medusa is a Greek character, but I get kind of like Egyptian, mummy, Greek feeling from that clothing, and it definitely stands out in a positive way. Something that makes the Medusa Legend a very interesting static prop is the fact that she does feature LED eyes. This is something we don't always see with Distortions, but I definitely think it added to this character in particular. And Ed Edmonds of Distortions does show in the sneak peek video that the item will come with a professional controller that allows you to customize the effect that goes on in her eyes. I personally think the constant on is what looks the best, and you actually will be able to dim it or make it brighter to fully customize what you want. It's not a plug it in and what you see is what you get. You can fully customize it, which is really awesome. That's something we do not see in the retail market. Obviously, Distortions is many levels ahead of them, and I love the fact that they gave her LED eyes. Like I said, I like the constant mode, but they show in the video that you can have like flickering, a strobe effect, and you can even have it go with audio, where when there's a certain volume picked up, the lights will turn on, which could definitely be a cool use if you're gonna put her in a display or a professional haunt. You would definitely get a lot of use out of that effect. But me personally, I love the constant mode, and I think that dimmed yellow color, again, really gives her that Egyptian effect. Even though she's a Greek character, I love that kind of mythological Egyptian Greek feeling you get from the constant dim yellow eyes. Another thing I'll mention is that it was shown in the sneak peek video that Medusa Legend actually has a separate headpiece. It is not one single mold like we would usually see on static items from DU, which I'm not gonna lie, I personally am more a fan of that single molding when the head is connected to the body and not its own separate piece, but that is something they did with the Medusa character. I'm not exactly sure if that was a design choice or if it was something done because of those LED lights, because they do show in the video that you have to plug in the adapter yourself, so maybe because of that they needed the head to be a separate piece so that the wire could come out of it and you could plug it in. Not really exactly sure. Ed Edmonds did not explain the reasoning behind that separate headpiece in the sneak peek video, but nonetheless it's something I did want to point out simply because I personally am more a fan of the single molded body. Medusa is available now on the Distortions website, and as we see with all new DU releases, she is on sale right out of the gate with a sale price tag of $829 and a full price set to be $879, which is definitely a little higher than you would typically see on a Distortion static prop, but you have to consider the fact that she does come with those LED eyes and the professional controller to control them. I'm not gonna lie, it's still a little higher than I expected when I saw the demo video and then clicked on the website link to see how much she would be. I was honestly thinking somewhere in the $700 to $750 range, but she is selling for $829 on sale and $879 set to be for that full price tag in just a couple of weeks. But obviously this is still a professional item with extremely high quality and a very nice durability, so that's what you're paying for. This is not a retail item, so her price tag right now is $829. But overall, I think this is an awesome static prop from Distortions for the 2026 season. And like I said, I just really appreciate the fact that they are making a Medusa character because she is so few and far between when it comes to the Halloween world, whether you're looking at the retail or the pro market. And I truly believe that Distortions, Jordu Shell, and Tom Cassidy did an amazing job of bringing the character to life with a phenomenal sculpt, and definitely those yellow LED eyes were an awesome touch to Medusa as well, and I am just so excited to see what else Distortions has for the 2026 season. But I guess, remember as always, for everything scary, I'm GMHaunts. As you guys headed for more Distortions Unlimited 2026 videos. Goodbye.